All right. Gonna give this one more try. Downloaded another version of virtual cable, which you need to run audio through. The output to StreamYard. If it dies again, I'm just going to say goodbye for today because 3 times is enough. And I'll have to look through my audio setup. Buenos dias, Felix. Let's see if 3 times is a charm or not. No lecture. What do you guys think? Or are we going lower? How low can we go? Bitcoin is very cheap right now in terms of gold. Very, very cheap. I like this one from APSK. As always, his cloud model is pretty good. This is the latest. So right now, we are going to start the tunnel. We were ahead of the curve back in the start of 2024. All right, look at that. Look how low everybody else was. And even here, we were ahead of the curve at the end of 2025. But now, I don't think the correct word is nothing, but it's just a completely different pattern. So we'll see. Do we tunnel through and just change the game entirely, or do we pump? I would say once we get to this number, which is a mean of the 4-year cycle based on the lowest part of the trend, which as you can see, its peak is the very end of December. And if we're like still down here, then I think the 4-year cycles are done. If it doesn't, then we don't. Thank you again for everybody filtering back in. Let's, as I said, third time's a charm. If this goes out again, I'm gonna have to. I don't know. I really don't know at this point. Maybe have AI diagnose the problem. Maybe I'm getting hacked. What else would you guys like to see? I'm not a fan of relying solely on the money printing to tell us where we're going to go with Bitcoin. But as we saw last week from the Fed, they're going to turn it around. So interesting, by the way, that this would be the size of the balance sheet if we stayed on this Fed's growth rate from 1914 to 1971. 1971 to 2008 was actually way low. This is our current growth rate. So still, no matter any way you look at it, except for this wild one of 100% R squared during the, you can even start this in the 60s, frankly, but I just started it after the Nixon shock. Fed just had to increase their balance sheet to 6.7% per year. Anyway, we're off that trend, but asset purchases will resume in December. Is that the catalyst for Bitcoin higher? I don't like to rely on that, but it's possible. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you want to see. It's bizarre to me that I keep cutting off, but we'll see how long this lasts. This one I think is a very interesting trend. Good morning, Mark. I did not, but I did think I saw a couple tweets on it or some summaries. So basically the idea is that, we're now in IPO phase, right? So this is the time to monetize for early Bitcoiners. I think it's a good point. But that idea of monetization, it's not like it hasn't happened in the past, right? I guess it's always at a different level, a different scale. I mean, this was a monetization. And when you say monetization, I mean, like, it's when early investors want to alleviate themselves perhaps from a top heavy position and get into something else, diversify, right? Is that the idea? So I think that's definitely happening. This sort of triple top happened like this, I guess, in 2013. This is just the percentage of the total pie, right? At the time, there's not many coins, right? Back in 2013, 2014, still only 12 million coins or so. So it's not like, the dynamics are different. They are repeating, but of course they're just at a different scale, I guess. But yeah, I did not read it in full to comment more than that. Thank you again. I've said it a few times for those. Third time's a charm, hopefully, for this audio today. And if I drop, I'm not coming back today. We'll have to see what happens tomorrow. I'm gonna get this up very soon. This is a great chart. I need to get this on my terms. APSK is doing it on the. It's all relative to this bottom line, wherever the curve is at the time. So I want to do a little bit different, but idea is the same. We're just about to start a new pattern. Yeah, I mean, does he say? I guess I can just do an AI search. That's what Geo usually does for me. Does he say anything more than that? Because I still feel like, if you look at this, Bitcoin, unlike an ICO or certain coin offerings, Bitcoin has always been free and open, no lockups. So I get some of it, but again, it's really just good old-fashioned rotation, rebalancing from people that have been in there a while. I mean, to some extent, I would say. Yeah. You remember Coinbase had in their prospectus, which was, I don't even know, when did Coinbase go public? Somewhere here. They had in their prospectus that it's a risk of Bitcoin that the old coins, like the Satoshi era coins, could move. That would scare the market, probably crash the price short term. Over the long term, just a passing of the torch. But yes. So thank you, Tony. I said this in maybe the first stream before I got cut off today, one of my 3 streams. Research Bitcoin or the Bitcoin Lab, you can find them. Actually, I have free data here. Much better than me sorting through my node. Usually I see the delineation of short and long term at a year. So the age is when a UTXO is less than a year, it's in the short term bucket. When it's longer than a year, it's in the long term. This one's a little bit shorter, actually. So this is only 155 days or 5 months. If anyone watching the stream knows why, I actually don't. It's a great follow, by the way. I should just point to their Twitter handle here. It's the Bitcoin Researcher. For some time now, they've been putting out great stuff. And you can find all that stuff, a lot of this stuff for free here. But yeah, they're using 155 days. So I haven't, I could get a year up here. We could play around with the numbers, but yeah, I think that's a good way to say it. Right now, this is just massive absorption and changing of the guard, changing hands. It's happened after the ETFs, after the Trump win, and now again. So 3 big dips, all when the price, that's in terms of gold, sorry, was at or close to 100K. So yeah, I think this is a good point. The new guys are actually quite patient, right? The new guys have a lot more capital, let's say, probably than the old guys. I mean, it was quite clear that the old guard is not that large in terms of number, right? I mean, we know 1 million of these in the dark area. Actually, closer to 1.1 million is Satoshi, according to Sergio Lerner. He's the one that came up with the Satoshi pattern. So that's one person that has 5%. Winnow the Winklevi each have 1%. 2%. No, they each have 0.5%, right? I think they have 200,000 or so. So that's 2 people with 1%. Is that right? I can't do math in my head anymore. Yeah, 1. So it's clear that, and they're holding on, by the way, but it's clear that now that this is a Wall Street product, and really a quite small market cap compared to all the other stuff, you know, these guys are quite patient, I think, to accumulate more. But tell me what you guys think. I'd like to find more data to support it, but I just, we're just going to know for sure after this. If, I have still not seen enough data to say that, a few big players still couldn't blow this out, and we might not get to this level, 250, which by the way is the 90th percentile on my chart. But we might get here, we might get here. Even here is over the trend, right? Trend, by the way, by the end of the year, which it looks like he's about close to me, it's right there. It's 125K by the end of the year. So it's right there. So we're clearly on track for that, even if we dip lower still. I need to show the percentage of profit loss as well. That's the next one I'll have up for you guys, because these are a huge amount of coins that have been sold right here. You can run this. You can run it this way. So like, here's the top. As far as changing over in the last 2 years, or even, is it the last year? No, last 2 years. Right, started 2024. So look at the, let's just look at this. So what I'm about to do, we can add up to say the cumulative amount. So just call this the low, 3.275, 4.8. That's $1.5 million, roughly. Okay, then it changes again, but that's fine. Just cumulative change still. 3.6. We're at $1.5 million. Just keep that in mind from here to here. And then here, 3.6 to 5. Did we hit it? 5.5. That's 2. That's $3.5 million from here and from here. That's changed hands. So $3.5 million, and then from say here, 4 to almost 5 is another million. So 4.5 million have changed in the last 2 years. So it's massive for sure. It doesn't mean when these go up and back down, it doesn't mean the same people bought it. Probably some did. Probably some people did buy again. But just take the cumulative number to see the change there. So these are big swings. Whereas, say, from here, we only really had one big move here. Okay, you can count these, but, in 2020, that bump, we had 4.3 going up to 6.3, 6.5, so 2. It was a swing of 2 million coins. Here, it was, 1.5 to another 1. So it's pretty wild. Yep. Yeah, we can show this distribution as well. I don't have it ready, but it's a good point. Yeah. And, again, anything is possible, not as a TA person, but it's totally possible that, it could happen that this happens to just like be the top. Maybe we roll along this trend for, we go up to something like 125K by the end of the year. Maybe we roll back down. Maybe we have 3-4 years of at or below trend. That could happen too. Anything is possible. But to me, I still don't see a reason to discount that we're going to boom above the trend this time. It's totally possible that we don't. And by the way, if we don't, or if gold somehow continues to outperform Bitcoin for another 2 years, if you look to a longer term projection, it's possible it gets pulled down, right? So again, remember, I've been following this a long time. This number. And it used to be like closer to 600,000, right? Need to keep checking my audio that it actually is working today. So now it's 5. Sorry. Now it's 560, 558. If we go another 2-3 years, like kind of just lackluster price moves at or below the trend, then this could get even lower. Is it going to stay below there for the rest of time? The statistics say no. They still say 1/3 of the time we get above this black line. All right, but no one can say for sure. That's a good stat. That's a good stat. Yeah, finding the minor flows will be another good one I need to show. Yeah, I saw a nice chart or a nice post from Thomas Young about this. Which I'll talk about in a second. Yep. I need to get this stuff charted out for you to see more of the hodl waves and everything. Massive. That's a massive redistribution. Let me show you this chart again I showed yesterday, but sort of just the regular power projection of Bitcoin's market cap versus the other large scale asset classes. All right. We'll come back to the tech. Let's just look at gold, official gold and regular gold. So, it could be that some of these guys, old Bitcoin whales, are taking this and seeing the move into gold and moving into gold. We're still way above the trend of gold. All right, so all-time gold there is 23, closer to $24 trillion right now. Trend says 13 since 2008. Same with official, which I don't have data back until only July. 3.8 in central banks as of July. $3.8 trillion worth of gold in central banks. Trend says 2.5. Bitcoin is right on trend, so I don't expect it. But it's possible that, you know, if that stays elevated, again, follow my mouse, not the line, but for the two, just roughly staying parallel. It's possible that instead of passing gold at 21 trillion in 2033, which by the way is lower than it is now, we could take another few years and only pass it in 2036 at 40 trillion. So basically gold, being on a more elevated trend. All this is possible. Big changes. Big changes have been occurring. Yeah, this is interesting. I probably need to get some data on this too, don't I? It would be interesting to see the USDT absorption or change versus what's going into exchanges. This would always be fun. I'd talk to him. But as you know, if you're talking to Peter Schiff, you can't really get a word in, and he's just going to pontificate. Unbelievable. And are you in a Nordic, Swedish country? Ericsson? It's unbelievable that they shouldn't lock anybody out, but they do. So yeah, we have all that stuff to contend with too. KYC, AML. What do you guys think in terms of gold? Gold's still pretty strong, pulling the whole ribbon down, 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 down. Every day we're pulling this ribbon, as you can see, gets further down, and it's actually less of a good predictor because there's this kink. But again, I'm thinking it's going to bounce back at some point, but maybe we go to the 10, maybe we go below the 10. But if we bounce back, the move could be violent in favor of Bitcoin. If we bounce back to really being at fair value of 60, 70 ounces of gold instead of the 26 that we are at the moment of this model, it's going to be a wild ride. Here's another great one from Checkmate. I can get this up now for you. Similar detail on my charting. Not at this very moment, but I'll get it. I'll do it by tomorrow. It's monumental. This is revived supply in dollar terms. Seeing this in Bitcoin terms would also be interesting, but this is basically everybody over 6 months, if I'm reading this right. And by the way, that means all of this supply, because this is basically this is basically all this supply, but broken down in a more cohesive and dollar-based fashion. This is UTXO based, Bitcoin based. But oops. Again, follow these guys if you're not. Getting close to 4 billion. at the start of the Trump admin. Now we're at 3. You know, was this the top? Maybe. Maybe. Maybe Wall Street's patient enough to, you know, chill out for a couple years, just keep accumulating. What do you guys think? Is the top end? Good morning, Anders. Nice to see you. I'm glad you made it on this third stream. I've had 2 false starts this morning with my audio equipment, but so far so good on the third. I'll say it again. I'm not coming back if I cut out this time. So thanks for coming back, all you 600 viewers that came back again. Appreciate it. Let's see what else we got here. It's a great resource. This looks like MVRV. So realized price, basically. Usually a good support level, but, you know, we can break down and go back above again, right? So we did it in March. Liberation Day bottomed us out right there. Maybe we can do this again for a couple months and then go back up. Makes sense. 100K is a psychological number, though. I mean, is that... Again, I'm not claiming this is some sort of magical support, but, you know, could we get to the 4? Let's say the 5. Right, we hit the 5 once here, and we almost hit it during Liberation Day. So the 5 by the end of the year was 96K. The 5 now is 91K. Maybe that's a support. Maybe. What's it mean? If anything, it's healthy, right? If anything, it's healthy. If we tunnel through, that's actually healthy. So it's hard for me to really, you know, whatever. All I'm trying to do anyway is relax people's Malox moments, right? So if you're really counting on the big boom, we might not get it. Might get some slippage lower, but I tend to agree with you guys. I don't think it's going to go too. What do you mean, price to 1 million? Or back what Jimmy was saying, 21 whale addresses, totaling 684,000 Bitcoin. Here's one from my buddy Plan C. The dip before the rip. Right. Bullish cross here. So far, no bearish crosses on the long term. Are they? As far as price, soon? Let's do a Gemini. Let's see how Gemini does. We know how good Gemini is, right? Kathy Wood. Yeah, sure. Yeah, so 1 million by 2030. I'm seeing that a lot. Hayes said 1 million by 2028. A million's very statistically rough on the power curve. All right, so it's the 100th percentile. 7.8x the trend. We've never been higher than that as a multiple of this line. And as I said, I think the max we can go is to the 94th percentile, which is 3x the trend. So trend by year end 125K. 2x the trend is the 90th percentile, 250K. 3x the trend is like the 94th percentile. But we did hit the 94th percentile every run, every past boom. Yeah, I mean, are there any? Again, I know I'm not exactly poo-pooing TA people, but I just don't think about it. Like, are there any short-term support positions that you guys have in mind? Because again, we can say this number 5 is, but it's just math. I don't know. We could pierce below it. Maybe the number 4 is the 40th percentile. So 40th percentile by year end is still 80K. And remember, we hit that price plenty of times here and below it. The actual price. Yep, Mark mentioned that as well. It's Visser's Substack as well. It definitely seems like that. I mean, it's the 100K was such a psychological barrier, such an unbelievable number, right? Back in 2011. So I certainly understand all the sentiments there. Thank you, Jimmy. You're much more of an expert on this stuff than I am here. Whoops. And then what happens if that's broken? What's the next level of support in your view? Something close to this. These are just arbitrary numbers, but again, like 92K or 76K for a while. Another thing, guys, zooming out. This isn't stopping. This is a very slow moving indicator, right? This is just U.S. money supply. The hottest money is actually in the broadest money, right? So these repos and money market funds. It's the hottest, least regulated money in the U.S. financial system. Stablecoin is like a money market fund, and as you can see, no, it's too much here. Let's zoom in here. The Fed offered a lot of liquidity to the market, i.e., took it out of the market, put it on the Fed's balance sheet, paid basically these money market funds and these hedge funds more than the Treasury would pay, right, in interest. That's why they would do it. And this grew to a huge amount, 2.6 trillion. It's a negative because I'm showing what the financial system holds, but you see there at the very bottom of the tooltip, 2.6 trillion. That's now fully unleashed into the economy. Repo facilities only 584 billion at the moment. And you can see number 7 in particular is growing correspondingly. All right. I know I've talked about it a lot, but I just want to keep saying it. All right. This is only looking at the repo. It leaks into the money market as well. You can say this. But you can clearly see when the Fed is repoing, number 7 in particular is held down. And once they stop repoing, it goes back into the market. So it's a very lagging indicator. It's only from June. I won't have September's until like later this month. But that's what it is. So there's plenty of liquidity. And we know this is turning around as well. Oops, sorry, this one. It's Fed's balance sheet. Going up. It's not going to go up immediately. It's not going to go up super fast. It's going to go up like that. Do I need to do a Gemini search? Where are you getting this from, Gio? I got Bitcoin reaching 100K or the value of owning 0.1 BTC. Is it the value of owning 0.1 million BTC, i.e. 100,000 BTC? Gemini. AI, it will be interesting to see how much AI competes with this Bitcoin value proposition, right? So, showed this yesterday. This is not updated through yesterday, but updated through Friday. I mean, amazing run in the market caps of all these tech giants. From before GPT was launched, we're at $7 trillion market cap, $6.9 billion market cap, and now we're at a $23.2 trillion market cap. So over 3x in 3 years. That's incredible growth, even with the Liberation Day fallout. It's wild to me. I don't know how much, is really going to be, Bitcoin gains can go into this somewhat, but Bitcoin gains are only, relatively speaking, $1 trillion. Still not that huge of a market. Perhaps some of these AI investors will go into Bitcoin. The trend is your friend. Trend is your friend. These guys are going gangbusters at the moment. I don't have it ready. I'll try to do it tomorrow as well. A lot of charts to do, but let's do it like the long-term and the short-term trend of these tech giants. So say the trend from here to here, this is going to be like 100% per year trend. Unbelievable. 3x in 3 years. It beats everything in the market, including Bitcoin, including gold. How much longer is that going to last? I mean, can just a few tech valuations pull the market on with this AI brilliance, quote unquote brilliance, for how many more years? It's very interesting. This is about the size of the gold market in totality, 23 trillion. So that includes all the jewelry, a lot of less liquid gold. It's just mad. It's mad to see this. I mean, this has to be more. I don't actually have this to a daily rate. I can get weekly easier. And not all these companies were really actually only Amazon and Apple. Well, Amazon, Apple, Microsoft were really there during the dot-com bubble. And dot-com bubble was obviously made up of different things. I'd have to just do the NASDAQ, basically. But I mean, have we seen anything like this ever? 7 trillion turned into 23 trillion in market cap in 3 years. Any chartists want to tell me what the NASDAQ did? Let's see what Gemini says. Yeah. So this is well better than Nasdaq. 40% 95, 22 and 96, 21 and 97, 39 and 98, 84 and 99. It popped in March 2000. But this is better. This is faster from here. It's crazy. Nicely done. These are the two big winners. These are the chip makers. But of course, Microsoft had the investment. Everybody won here. If you just look at Apple, maybe the more doubled. Didn't do a triple. Whereas NVIDIA did a, how many X? First company to hit 5 trillion, by the way, right there. .362. NVIDIA's up 14 times in this period. The majority of this. So again, you guys tell me. How much longer can this go? As I tried to show you with the gold price, long-term trend versus the sort of boom that it's having, which is 40% a year. We're on track to break out of this. The max. Like, remember I told you the 100th percentile in Bitcoin, if I could ever find the chart, is a million. If Bitcoin gets to the 100th percentile, which is very unlikely. If it happens in gold by, say, I don't know, March, April, it's 5.5 thousand would be the price. And that is about when this short-term trend would cross. So I still think it's highly unlikely that this Peter Schiff trend carries on. 41% CAGR is the slope of this dotted line, number 2. It'll be very exciting for gold bugs and Bitcoin bugs to see how this plays out, but this is quite unsustainable. You can see that, maybe for 4 years or something it could go. $20,000 gold, $15,000 gold by 2030, possible. It's like a record-breaking run. Never in the history of humanity has it gone that crazy. But could happen. And I think the same we can say about tech, about this tech run. So actually, do I have... Let me just get you the tech. Boom. It's not that hard to create it. Let's do it right now. One second. One second, guys. 1 second. I'll get this right here. Import AB. Sorry. I'm doing this on the fly because I've had so many false starts today, and I just want to show you guys this. Come on. This will be a kind of fun one. All right, where do we want to start the low here? Is that it right here? Let's just start it at the year end. 12/31. Sorry for the dead time. It's coming. This will be a very precise trend. Actually, not great from the short term, but anyway. All right. Let me. All right. Let me see if I can pull this up for you finally with all that dead time. Those that have stuck around, thank you. So what I'm trying to do is give you a chart that is quite similar to this, right? So we can see sort of really how extreme gold is in the current situation and how extreme perhaps it could go. Okay. One second. What's falling off there? Long. That's why I like to make these before the show, so apologies. Almost done. Okay. Yeah, about the same. Actually, that's quite surprising to me. The trend line is lower than I thought. Here we go. I'll show you. So same deal. Same deal as this gold chart, right? Let's look at the trend of those tech stocks, right? Which is like the vast majority of the AI value from 2008. All right, from 2008. And here we get a huge run up. And then if you catch just this trend of the last 2 years on the market cap, I thought it was actually going to be quite a bit higher, but it's about the same as gold. I guess due to this dip. It's the difference between taking an OLS, a trend line, and actually just simple running like I was doing in my head, because, you know, cutting through all the noise, trend line is actually this. That's why you have to run the trend line sometimes. So it's actually the same as gold, 41%, almost identical to gold. What gold has been doing in the last 2 years is exactly what tech has been doing. The valuation of the top 8 US tech firms. So how quickly could that go, or will it take to get over like literally the max trend line, in this case from 2008? a little bit longer, year and a half. Whereas gold, if we keep up on this gold trend, we'll get over this next year, 2026. Here a little bit longer into 2027. All of this doesn't seem likely to me, by the way. I mean, could we reach the red line? Could we pull the red line a little bit higher? Yeah, we could do that. But are we going to just fly out into, crazy talk town of these valuations? I don't think so. And of course, there's a lot that can happen between now and 2027 anyway. So there's your bird's eye view on the AI market. Any questions? I kind of wanted to do this, by the way, because I think Thomas Young had a good question. I saw it yesterday. About, where here we go. Where does he compare it to Bitcoin? Here's a good question. Here's a good thought exercise. How many Bitcoiners, people who are fully committed to the Bitcoin thesis, will eventually sell or reduce Bitcoin in order to reallocate into AI exposure? The answer is not zero. If Bitcoin closes 2025 in the 120K range and 2026 in the 150K range, it's 25 to 30% annual appreciation, even more, frankly. Strong, predictable, programmatic. But if AI assets are ripping 100% plus in the same period, the psychological and portfolio incentives shift. This raises real questions. What happens behaviorally when Bitcoin becomes the steady base layer of wealth while AI becomes the speculative frontier? Do some Bitcoiners rotate out of BTC to chase AI upside? Does Bitcoin shift into the role of reserve collateral, the place you park capital between higher volatility plays? And is this next real capital flow debate Bitcoin into AI, not fiat into Bitcoin? This is an interesting way to put it. This isn't anti-Bitcoin. It's acknowledging a simple law of markets. Capital moves towards velocity and perceived opportunity. If Bitcoin becomes the settlement layer and AI becomes the growth frontier, then the 2026 conversation is about how to manage an AI/Bitcoin hybrid portfolio. This is not an or conversation. It is an and conversation. Good way to put it from a Bitcoiner. You tell me, they want to regulate it into existence? The euros, man. I mean, I don't have much to say about European regulation. It doesn't seem to be taking us anywhere. I would actually agree with his 100% number there, but keep in mind, I just corrected myself here. It's actually the same as gold right now. Right? This, if you take out the long-term trends, this what's happened precisely since the release of ChatGPT is, it seems closer to 100% if you catch this bottom and here, but there's a lot of volatility. This is why trend lines. This is, by the way, this is a perfect example of why trend lines can show you what you're actually going to get, or closer. Right? It's a 41% CAGR on the trend. Important distinction. If we cheat and catch like here, right, you could get something like I just back of the envelope did, 3x higher in 3 years. Then you're closer to 100%. But the trend line is more shallow, 41% per year. Regardless, Here's the long-term trend, monstrous, of these top 8 tech stocks, the growth of their market cap since 2008, 24.3% CAGR, monstrous in itself. It's great to buy those 8 companies. Here's the performance of them since the release of GPT, 41.1% CAGR. How much longer will that continue? And will it go above the all-time trend? Good chance it gets here, but does it keep pulling it up forever? This is where I start to doubt some of these grand theses, simply because of supply and demand and because of the trend and competition. The whole market is on fire right now. Everybody knows that. So how long is that going to continue? What do you guys think about that little exercise? I think it's a good question. It might not be fiat into Bitcoin. It might be Bitcoin into AI. I tend to think this is, my personal opinion is it's still a little bit early to say that. Bitcoin is 10% of this value. It's $2 trillion. Why these companies, these top 8 companies, are 20. Same with gold. This is the size of the gold market. So I tend to think Bitcoin has there's a definite place for what Bitcoin's doing. And this goes back to the Jeffrey West stuff. Like, is this really going to be the singularity? There's no question the big tech companies have a huge moat and will continue to protect the moat. So here's what I'm looking at, guys, over the next couple weeks, months. I'm looking at how cheap Bitcoin actually becomes in terms of gold. I don't see it going back to 10 ounces. If it does, all I can say is good for you if you have gold, like a lot of gold. Are you going to then rotate back into Bitcoin? Because I think it'll be quite cheap. I'm also going to be looking at the pace of the gold market itself in this short-term trend, 41% CAGR. Going to get outside the all-time max on a multiple basis of the all-time trend at 5.3K a year from now, if it stays on its trend. And the same thing with, AI, as you can call this AI, like biggest companies in the world, all the big tech companies. I don't have TSMC on here, but this is just the big American companies. Same growth rate as gold in the short term. Maybe a little bit longer to get outside of to get to its top end. Like max 100%, which is really not a big multiple. 1.37x the trend. Pretty wild. So that's what I'm looking at over the next 6-12 months. Yeah. Absolutely right. Well, gold too, no? I mean, people are getting into gold. But this is way outside of the scope of how big, say, the biggest buyers of gold are doing, right? We talked about that yesterday. Central banks are only increasing their their lot by like less than 2% a year. Yeah. HODL's always a good good advice, guys, but you know, we could clearly see some softness in the price action. Do I think we're going to this 4? Perhaps. Lower? Personally, I don't think we're going lower than that. But again, I'm not a TA guy. I'm not a timer. I'm just looking. You know, if you loved Bitcoin at 110,000, or if you liked it at 110,000, I think you should love it at 75,000, which it might go to, or 90,000, or what you said, Jimmy, 97K is the technical support. I can't believe my mic didn't crash this third time. Is a charm. But I'm going to leave it there today, guys. Thank you for coming back 3 times, some of you. Gio, Jimmy, Anders, good to see you. Mark, Felix, everybody. Let's expect some more excitement tomorrow. As long as you don't need the real short-term liquidity, I think it's just Bitcoin becoming on sale. But we'll see. Exciting days until the year end. Is this that Polish movie? If you're into the politics of it, there's a really good Norwegian film producer I just heard on the Ukraine latest pod called Facing War. Facing War, that he filmed over the last 3 years, basically. I haven't seen it, but I'm planning on it. We didn't talk geopolitics at all, so we have that side of it as well. I'll leave up these numbers as I close the video, guys. I think this is your range, which is still quite a big range, but this is your range to me by the end of the year. And getting down to that 4 seems quite unlikely to me. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Daniel. Thanks for coming back. Take care, everybody.